Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski here with Adam Atkinson. We're going to start a new series this week, and it's going to be on the entire contest diet methodology, or the approach that we take. So in our first series, we looked at peak week and all of those variables. Then we took a step back and we started talking about how to plan for peak week. Now we want to go all the way back to the beginning of you even planning your dieting process. So Adam, I think probably the best place to start is a lot of people try and reverse engineer this process and say, well, how many weeks or months do I need? How much weight do I need? So you as a coach, I know you've seen it all. You see people get ready on time. You help people win big, but you also see people miss the mark. How do you help a client determine how much time they need for a contest prep?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is, a lot of people make that initial calculation, I'm going to lose 1 pound a week. And it's just not going to be that linear. You're going to lose more in the beginning when you have more existing fat cells. And when you have less existing fat cells, a pound of loss can be a huge percentage of your body fat left. And I think that's where a lot of people do miss the mark, is if they're planning on a pound a week, if you're getting absolutely shredded, a half pound or a quarter pound might even be the gold standard weight loss, being in those final weeks where body fat's really low. So getting people to understand that, if it's a brand new client, a lot of times you don't know metabolically how fast they're going to be able to move. So a lot of times I'll add a few weeks even there, just because they're a brand new client versus someone that I've maybe worked with before. And we have a good track record of maybe faster or maybe slower loss. If you've worked with someone, it's way easier. But in that initial consultation, erring on the side of having more time than less and telling them how important that is. Because if you end up dieting longer, that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're ready on time, because there's really not a whole lot you can do if there's not a lot of time left.
Yeah, and you brought up a great thing about fat cells, and we all have a different amount. Like I may have 150 billion adipose cells, somebody else may have 15 billion. And it's not that we gain or lose body fat cells through the process, but the impact of hormone regulation of body fat loss has to do with how much volume there is in those fat cells. And as you said, not only do you start looking better at the end, maybe even just losing a few ounces, sometimes you may not lose that much on the scale at all. And visibly, it's such an amazingly higher percentage of your total body fat, but it also gets harder to lose at the end, once you're pushing against your metabolic set point. So I agree that you have to really be careful to take enough time, give yourself that cushion, plan for weeks that you may not be as on point, plan for weeks for transitions where you're going to have to adjust your macros a little bit. But do you tell people, look, I really love as kind of a gold standard to have maybe 6 months or 4 months? Like what is your typical range?
Yeah, with the first time competitor, I usually tell people a year, kind of doing the metabolic building phase. I always say it takes a year to make a champion with someone brand new. If they have competed before, usually around 6 months. And that doesn't mean they're going to be in like hardcore prep for 6 months. So that's kind of the biggest question I get. Well, when does prep start? And I always question, does prep mean you're going to be really serious about your diet? Because I want your diet to be serious the whole time. And then we divvy that up into phases like the transition phase, the core phase, which we can touch on that later, of course. But, I want someone to be consistent no matter what phase of prep they're in.
Yep, and it's funny that you brought up those different phases of dieting, because that's definitely what I do want to talk about in this series. We're going to go through, guys, not only how to approach it from a linear, as Adam said, time scale, but as a pretty non-linear. What are the different phases you're looking for and transitioning into? And the all-important kind of newer concept people are discussing, diet breaks, and then how to make that final turn into peak week. So stay with us through this series. We're gonna look at about 5 or 6 episodes, we hope, to wrap it up, but to make sure that you have a very good idea of how to even approach your contest diet. We'll see you guys next time.